Those of you, take your seats, please. Good evening. My name's Ed Selich, President of Speak Up Newport, and welcome to our July program. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce a couple of VIPs we have in the room. First of all, current council member Joy Brenner. Joy, right over here. And former council member Jeff Herdman. Jeff. I want to thank the bungalow. I hope you appreciated the nice spread they put on out there for us today. They really support our organization, so if you have the opportunity to patronize their establishment for dinner or whatever, please do so. Before we start our program tonight, I want to announce our scholarship winners this year. We were very fortunate that through the mayor's dinner and through some private donations, both large donations and people individually just making their donations online, we were able to give out $22,000 in scholarships this year. So we gave out 4 scholarships. 2 of the students are here this evening, who I'll introduce in a moment. 2 could not be here. The 2 that couldn't be here were Claire Usey from Corona Del Mar High School, who's attending Brown University, and then Peter York from Newport Harbor High School, who's attending the Culinary Institute of America in New York. And so our 2 scholarship winners we have here this evening is Myla Grace Sarah from Corona Del Mar High School, who will be attending the University of San Diego, and also Emily Park, who graduated from Newport Harbor High School, who is going to the University of Hawaii. So Myla Grace, why don't you come up and say a few words?
Hello, my name is Myla Grace Sarah, and I will be attending the University of San Diego, majoring in environmental and ocean science in hopes to make an impact on ocean conservation. Thank you, Speak Up Newport, for awarding me this scholarship, and it helps me reach my goals. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Emily Park, and I'm going to University of Hawaii at Manoa, and coincidentally, I am studying marine biology to work on ocean conservation. I didn't even know this before you spoke, but I'm really excited to go. I'm a surfer. I'm so excited for the tropical waters, and also, Mom and Dad, thank you so much for supporting me, and Speak Up Newport, thank you for taking the burden off of me that the finances are starting to come on, but thank you for taking off the burden that college is putting on me, and I have almost paid off my entire first semester thanks to you. So thank you.
So this is our future, folks. I think we're in pretty good hands. And also, Emily was also a Junior Lifeguard of the Year. She gets very embarrassed when we say that. Okay, thank you, ladies. All right, so our program this evening is on home break-ins. I see we've got a lot of interest in that with the crowd we have here tonight. We're also on Zoom. We had 179 people register on Zoom. So I think we've got a lot of interest in the topic tonight. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce our moderator, Speak Up board member, Robin Grant.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Ed, for the introduction. I am going to just jump right in and introduce our 2 speakers this evening. We have Detective Sergeant Brandon Rodriguez. Brandon began his career with the Los Angeles Police Department in 1997 and joined the Newport Beach Police Department in 2001. He worked as a patrol officer, patrol POP officer, field training officer, bike officer, and burglary auto theft detective. Brandon was promoted to the rank of sergeant in 2014 and worked as a patrol sergeant and Peninsula Enforcement Team Sergeant. He started in his current role as detective sergeant in the property crimes section in April of 2020. Detective Sergeant Rodriguez was named Sworn Supervisor of the Year in 2017 and more recently in 2021. Thank you for attending this evening.
Thank you.
I will go. I'll go ahead and introduce our second speaker because I'm not exactly sure if you're going to go one-on-one, but we'll just do both at one time. We have Crime Prevention Specialist Sara Verschueren. Sara is a crime prevention specialist with the Newport Beach Police Department. Over the last 7 years at the police department, she has worked in parking control, records, and payroll. She started her current role in community relations in May of 2018. Her position focuses on providing the community with crime prevention education, services, and programs. She also runs the very important Neighborhood Watch program and coordinates community events for the department. Welcome, Sara.
I will. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Brandon Rodriguez. I'm the detective sergeant in charge of the property crime unit on the east side of town. So before we start with the slide presentation, I figured I'd explain a little bit about our makeup. The property crimes unit handles all crimes related to theft, burglary, auto theft, trespassing, and every offshoot of theft that you can think of. The property crimes unit is comprised of two sides. Again, the east side, which is my side of town, I have 3 detectives and a civilian investigator that handles fraud investigations. And then our west side that has another sergeant and then 3 detectives that handle all the theft investigations on that side of town. Even with all those bodies, we're staying really busy during the year. So with that being said, we'll start. So here's a slide just to start off to give you some numbers. Did it? All right, give us a second here.
Okay. Well, it's changing on here, so.
Well, so there are slides here and there are numbers, but I guess, it's always a wrench. So we'll get through this. So basically, the slide that should be up there is a year-to-date slide on residential burglaries in the city of Newport Beach. Currently, as of 2022, our current number is 77. In past years, this is from January 1 to July 6th. In past years, 2017, 2018, our numbers were at 115 and 106, and then we saw a pretty good decline in 2019, 2020, and 2021, where we averaged 66, 54, and there we go, awesome, and 64. So as you can see now in 2022, we are in a slight uptick. However, we're still doing pretty good compared to years past. When we go on to the next slide, this is a year-to-year residential burglaries. So the last one was for a 6-month period, year-to-date. This is year-to-year. So as you can see, in 2016, our number was at 210, 2017, 202, 2018, 237, and then we took, again, that decline where 2021 we closed with 136 residential burglaries, and year-to-date right now we're at 77. So from my experience and perspective, I still think we're doing okay, and I think we're going to hopefully come in below that number with all our work here. So when it comes to recent trends and patterns, I guess this is what we're here to talk about. The things that we're seeing as the burglary section of the property crimes unit is empty homes are being targeted. These folks are coming in and they're basically looking for the least path of resistance, no confrontation. They're not looking for confrontation. Obviously, if there is confrontation, they're going to deal with it. But majority of the time, if they run into folks or whatnot, they're fleeing and going on to the next place that's empty. They want to be in and out, and they want to be able to not have to deal with confronting us or confronting you folks. So a majority of the time recently, we've seen the trend is at dinner time hours, anywhere between I'm sorry, I was going to say military time, 5 o'clock p.m. to 9 p.m., 10 p.m. in the evening is generally the time we're seeing with some of our bird crews. And again, they're coming off the hillside. So any of the open space areas, your golf courses, your trails, anywhere where they have access to the house from an open space, that's their goal. That's where they're trying to get to. Once they get on the property, they're generally attacking the second story. We started talking about that, and we talked about that with some of our law enforcement partners, kind of trying to spitball why it's the second story. And we came to the conclusion that a lot of the second stories don't have security. They don't have the security devices or the window break indicators or any of those things that you would have on that first floor. And so they've started hitting that second floor because it's easier to get in without being noticed. You get the window break on the first floor and the alarm goes off, they only have so much time to get in and do what they need to do. So that second story is an easy way for them to get in, not get noticed, and be able to do what they're there to do. On the entry points, again, we're talking about the same thing, the backyard and the sides of houses. That's, again, off the back of the property. Most of the investigations that we've done recently in regards to these burglary crews and the hillside thefts and all that stuff, we have video of them. They're using the golf courses. They're using the trails. They're coming off the backside. They're looking for the dark houses. As a matter of fact, we had an interview with a specific one of the arrestees that we took into custody, and he specifically said that his crew, they spread out, they look for the dark houses, they radio each other, they meet up, and that's the house that they go to. They're not, he said, we don't want to run into people, so that's generally what we look for as well. Once they get there, they're shattering the windows. They're using a window punch. Most of these folks, and we'll get into the South American theft groups and whatnot, but most of these crews are carrying window punches. They're small, they're really easy to hide and conceal, and they'll pop the corner of a window, breaks the window, and then they're able to make entry and get into the residence. The other thing we're seeing is, which I found really interesting, is we're seeing in other cities, I haven't seen one in our city yet, but in other cities, we're seeing where they're making entry and these folks have video surveillance or security systems, and they've been caught utilizing some sort of electronic device to disrupt those signals so that your video recorders, your surveillance systems aren't able to capture what they're doing on video because of their devices that they're carrying. So another thing that we're seeing that we're working on to prepare to try and combat that. Once they get in, though, the biggest target is master closets, master bedrooms. They're looking for safes, jewelry, handbags. In some of the most recent crimes we've had, unfortunately, you go on Instagram, right? Folks, I mean, I love seeing the kids on Instagram. I love seeing all the pictures of the trips, but on some of these recent victims, they're taking photos of their collection of handbags, their Louis and their Chanel bags, and man, I tell you, that's just an opportunity, especially if your profile's open and you're allowing other folks, other than your friends and family, to see your profile. That's a big no-no. I mean, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for the opportunity. You grab a bag, it's 20 grand. They're out the door. They go sell that for, and I'd say it's crazy. Some of these guys, they grab a bag for 20 grand. They'll sell it on the street for $500, like that. Quick turnaround. Some of them are, some of the more sophisticated crews are taking them back home to where shipping them, like the Chileans shipping them back to Chile to be sold. But some of these crews are turning around and immediately selling them for nothing. So social media, that's a really sticky subject when it comes to your house and your property and that kind of stuff. When it comes to the bird crews that we're seeing in our city, recently we had a significant influx of these South American theft crews and your LA-style based bird crews. The South American theft crews that we've seen, they operate throughout the county, throughout the country, which is, it blew me away when I first started dealing with these crews to see suspect A that we caught in Newport on, today, a month later was being arrested in New York for the same crime. So they're coming in, and then they they meet up and they put together a crew. They go out and they do these crimes. And what they're doing is they're getting this property, and generally they have a fence or a shipping company that they're utilizing, and they're shipping that stuff back to Chile where they're just distributing it and dealing with it, and however they're going to make their money off of it. So it's a pretty sophisticated operation, but there's a lot of folks involved to try and combat that. So these South American crews generally work in groups of 3 or 4 from what we've seen. All the ones that we've come in contact with, they're always wearing some sort of dark athletic gear, hats, masks, and they always got backpacks. The backpacks from my first crew that we arrested a couple years ago to the most recent ones that we arrested, they always have the backpack. They've always got their screwdrivers, their large flat tip screwdrivers for pry bars. They've got the window punch, their gloves, and what we found is a lot of them have quick change clothes in their cars. So they have a layoff car where they park down the road, they park down the hill, they park in a park, and they've got, in one car, you're going to see the photo on the next slide, they had their change of clothes on the floorboard for each suspect. So the driver had his shoes, his clothes, so he's going to strip down and go right into his new outfit as he was leaving the area. So they're thinking ahead, and so we're trying to do the same thing, and we'll talk about that, how we're doing that. Most of these folks are coming in via SUVs or minivans. Depending on the size of the vehicle, they may try and get the safe. If it's a smaller vehicle, they're doing jewelry theft, that kind of stuff. It just depends on how they get here. But they're always parking off and then walking in the community. With that being said, and you're going to see in the next slide, the biggest successes we've had was with the help of the community, you guys. We had folks call in, see a suspicious vehicle, and that led to, and I'll tell you more about it in the next slide, that led to some significant arrests. So if I can't say it enough, please don't be afraid to call in. I mean, we use the information that you provide us all the time to get some good leads, to identify suspects, vehicles, and to get out there in real time with our patrol and even our detectives sometimes when we're out and about to make these contacts and arrests and take these folks to jail. So your guys' help, 2 sets of eyes, 4 sets of eyes, but all of our eyes working together, we can put a big dent in this problem. There it is. When it comes to our arrests that we've accomplished as a result of your help and our investigations, I'll tell you about it. So the first one you see up there, this is Rockford in Surrey. A awesome citizen was going outside, sees this black car, the SUV right there parked in front of his house, finds it suspicious, sees 2 young men go walking from the vehicle into the park across the street that's on the corner of Rockford and Surrey and disappear into the brush. He knows that immediately on the other side of that is a golf course. So he calls it in. It just happened that my crew and I were staying late. We were already there to work operations, and we'll tell you about that when we get to the bottom. And so we went out, and we know, based on the investigations that we're doing, all the effort that we're putting into these things, we know that there are certain rental companies that they use out of LA and Van Nuys and the Valley to rent their vehicles to commit their crimes, and we know those specific companies. We have them. We have a nice little list that we're putting together. So when we go out there, we look for this. Well, the officers that responded, they ran the vehicle, immediately came back to one of our suspected rental vehicle companies that rents to these folks. So we knew we had a good crime and a good caper that we were working on. So we set up on this thing, and these gentlemen, about an hour later, come bebopping out of the bushes. We take them into custody. And like I told you, you can see on the bottom right photo, the bag, the go kit. They always have it, the backpack, the 2 large screwdrivers. I believe next to the screwdriver is probably the window punch, and usually gloves. You can see when we contact them, they dumped their gloves, their flashlight, and they said, "We're just out for a walk." In Spanish, they're yelling, "We're going for a walk. We're going for a walk." I would tell you what else they said, but it wouldn't be appropriate. But from there, it was a walk. So the great thing and the awesome thing about that phone call is, let me tell you, one suspect, last of Munoz, that young man was wanted for murder in Chile. And so because of the citizen that called in, because of you guys, and you guys seeing this and saying, "Hey, I think this is suspicious," we were able to make that arrest, and it was an awesome arrest, you know. Obviously, things are different from here in Chile, so who knows how if it was a significant case over there. But the fact is, we got him into custody, and we got him put in the system, and immediately they shipped him back to Chile to be held to answer for his case. So, and his crime partner, who said he had never done this before, was a suspect in several cases throughout Southern California, but also on the East Coast. And so once we were able to identify him, which that's a task in itself, he popped on all kinds of radars, and he was able to be held to answer for all these different cases. It was an awesome arrest that started with one of you making the phone call. So we appreciate that, and we need you to keep doing that. But with that being said, the other things that we do, one slide, the slide just disappeared on me, Sarah.
Sorry.
Let's see here. Yeah, it's
Okay.
the other side. Well, so we're going to go to arrest. Okay, so we were talking about arrest, but the other things that we do is operations. So, like I said, Rockford and Surrey, a citizen called in, but the awesome thing about your police department, our police department, is that the chief, the Deputy Chief Rasmussen that's in the back, Deputy Chief Cartwright, and the lieutenants are so focused on this crime trends and these problems, and so they'll do anything. I love it. They give me the run of the town to go do what I want to do to take these people in the custody, and I can tell you, we go anywhere. I've been up to Fresno to catch a bad guy that stole from one of our folks in this community. I've been down to San Diego, so I will go anywhere, and they let me go anywhere to put these folks into handcuffs and bring them back to Newport to answer for their crimes. And that's what's awesome, you know. So we're constantly, the chief and our deputy chiefs, lieutenants, we have a meeting regularly, a crime trends meeting, where we come up with strategies to combat some of these issues we're dealing with, our hotspots, like Irvine Terrace right now. And what we do is they give me guidance, what we're looking for, and then from there I put together hopefully some successful operations to deal with some of these criminals that are coming into town. So when you are out there looking for the black and white to roam through your city, you're going to see just my Ford Explorer, or you're going to see my minivan, because I like to be undercover. I usually wear plain clothes. I'm not normally in uniform. And the reason that is because we have a lot more success getting into your communities undercover and just watching. I put a bunch of detectives throughout the community, and they report in. We see suspicious vehicles, and then we'll follow them out, and I'll have patrol units stop them outside of your area. So if they're related to something bigger, they're not seeing it, and then we can focus on whatever's left in your community. So we do a lot of that. I mean, I would say most nights of the week I'm here pretty late, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, especially when the crime trends heat up. And so, but that's because of our command staff. They let us do that. They let us put the time in, and that's what we do. Antigua Way was another successful mission where we liaison with crime with our law enforcement partners. We do a lot of that, and we have a group, Huntington Beach, Costa Mesa, Irvine. As a matter of fact, yesterday we all met at the DA's office, and we had a big powwow about these crime trends, these South American bird crews, the LA-style bird crews. And we talked about how we could be more effective in stopping these folks from coming into your community. And it was a great opportunity. We got a lot of good intel sharing. The DA's office has put a specific DA, they call it a vertical DA, but a specific DA to deal with burglary crews and the prosecution of those crews. And the chief and the deputy chiefs had a meeting with that DA yesterday, I think it was, or 2 days ago, and they fully support him. They're on board, I'm on board, and so me and the DA have been on the phone constantly the last couple of days, just hammering out how we're going to address these issues. And it's just his words to me were, we want to make them understand that if they come to Newport Beach, they're going to be held to answer, and I agree wholeheartedly. So Antigua Way, we had the sheriff's department following a crew into town. And again, the communication was huge. They called us, they said, hey, we're coming into town, we're following a crew, it's South Americans, just be ready. The patrol staff got out there, they tried to hit a house, the sheriff's department and us took 3 suspects into custody. They were all held to answer, they all went to jail. And the cool thing was, one of the suspects did get some jewelry, He dumped it. The detectives went back the next day as a crew. We canvassed the whole area, and we found all of the jewelry from the crime the next day. So it was an awesome effort on everybody's part, and it was a good opportunity to liaison with the Sheriff's Department to work on this stuff. East Coastal Peak, again, it's a trailhead, right? So the Chileans, they love those trails. They love the open space. So you go up there and you park and you leave your valuables in the vehicle, you leave your stuff, and what they're doing is they're just watching. They're sitting in the car and they're watching, and as soon as you walk away, they're going in there, they're breaking in, and they're taking stuff. So that was a hot button issue. Again, we set a crew up there to sit on that, to watch it. We caught one in progress. We were able to detain those two. They ended up being good for several crimes throughout the county, and they have since been sent to jail. So, it's the work of the detectives, you folks that have been getting us there. Airport Storage was another crew there was five in that crew. They were hitting storage facilities throughout the county. They ended up being good for 20 plus crimes throughout the county, and probably 10 in our city alone. And then the final one I really enjoy, San Diego. That crew was hitting this on the east side of town. That young man we identified off a phone number on a stolen Lyft credit card that he used. He used a credit card for a Lyft. And we did all this work, and we ID'd him. We went down to San Diego. We found him. At the end of the day, once we took him into custody, we ended up putting 12 cases in Newport Beach, 20 cases in San Diego, and another 28 cases in Orange County. Almost 60 cases were cleared based on this arrest of that crew in San Diego. And I think for you guys just to understand, when it comes to putting this case together, it's crazy. I never, as a new cop, I didn't get it. As an old cop, I get it now. The effort, you guys call us and we take the report. From there, that case goes to a watch commander. He reads it. He gives it to the records folks. They process it. From there, it goes to the detectives. I get the report. I assign it to one of my folks, and then we start running with it. Whatever leads we have, whatever we can do. I tell you, I preach to my guys. Don't tell me. I always tell them, don't tell me what we can't do. Tell me what we can do. How are we going to find these bad guys? How are we going to find these folks' property? And they do it. They do a great job. They go out. They find the leads. They do search warrants. They do arrest warrants. Whatever they need to do to get the information to put these cases together to get a strong case for prosecution. They do. And at the end of this, when we get our guy, we figure out where he's at. We'll go do surveillance. San Diego, we were down there for 3 days watching this gentleman before we actually took him into custody. And we do surveillance. We get our ducks in a row, and then we do the end, which is taking him into custody and hopefully recovering your property. On the airport storage, $1.5 million in recovered stolen property from that case alone. And that was just one victim. That wasn't even the other 10 victims and all their property. But it was an awesome case, and it's a long process, but we get to the end of it. So I think the most part I'm proud of, and I think the bosses are proud of, is since we've been up as a group, since I've taken over the property crimes unit and I've been working with my crew, my guys in our property crimes unit have made a total of 234 arrests for crimes committed in your city. If you think about that, think about it. Thank you. I appreciate that. I really do. I'm super proud of the guys because if you think that's 234 cases in the last year. So 2021, 122 cases. Year to date right now, 59 arrests for 59 cases that have been committed in this city that those folks have been held to answer. This morning, young man stole $210,000 in jewelry and watches. He's in jail as of right now. Literally just finished it. Picked him up in Santa Ana. So we are constantly out there addressing these issues. I understand that we have hotspot issues. I promise you we're working on it. If there's a bad guy to go get, we go and get him. And that's what I hope to impress you on. I truly believe in what we're doing. And I'm so proud of the guys and the work that they do. They are working hard to put these folks in jail. And if you think about it, at the end of the day, if we did 234 arrests, that's probably, in the realm of 400-ish or more cases that are cleared overall based on their involvement in different cases throughout the city. So the guys, your detectives are doing a great job for you, and I look forward to continuing to address your issues and whatever that you need. And obviously, I'm always available on the East Side Sergeant. If you ever need to talk, I'm happy to answer questions. I don't mind talking. So we're going to have questions at the end. But with that being said, that's my portion. I'm going to let Sarah take over, and she's going to talk about some of the crime prevention stuff that she can do. Thank you.
All right, go ahead. All right, well, thank you, Sergeant Rodriguez, for sharing with everyone what our detectives are doing, how hard they are working to address this, and I can tell you as well that our patrol officers are being really proactive right now to address this as much as they can. In between calls, they know they're very much in tune with where the hot spots are, what time of day these things are occurring. We are constantly sharing crime trend information with them, so our officers are being proactive as well. But I wanted to share with you guys what you as our residents can be doing to, one, protect your homes and make those a harder target for these burglars, and number two, what you can be doing to help the police department do our jobs even more effectively. So and I'm going to try to go through this quickly, but so you really should have a home security plan. A lot of people think that when they start hearing about this, okay, we need to add more cameras. Cameras are one part of your security plan. A lot of people have one idea of what they should be doing. Your home security plan should have layers. I'm going to talk about what some of those layers should be. And even though I think cameras are an amazing investigative tool, I know our detectives really appreciate when you have cameras. They're not always necessarily a deterrent. In some cases, some burglars are deterred by cameras, some are deterred by other things, so we want to put as many layers up as we can so that all the different types of burglars we have who are deterred by different things might, all those layers you have will make it a harder target for them. So I encourage everyone, you should have gotten a checklist. Please take that home with you. Do a walk around your home with that checklist and see if there's things that you could be adding. That's going to be even more in depth than what I'm going to be able to go over today. And while you're doing that, think like a burglar. So think like if you imagine yourself, 20-something-year-old athletic guy. How could you get into your house? So how climbable are the walls? Getting up to that second story, how easy would it be for you to access those points? So, and for those who are watching online, the checklist is available on our website, nbpd.org. So that is another way to access that. So you can utilize that tool as well. So let's talk about some things you can be doing to the exterior of your home to make it your house a less appealing target for burglars. As Sergeant Rodriguez talked about, homes that are empty and that look empty are the ones that these burglars are really targeting. They do not want a confrontation. That's going to keep them from getting to their goal of your valuables, and it's going to get them in even more trouble. So they want houses that look empty. So from the front of your house, you want to make sure it's well lit from dusk to dawn. So that means around your front door. If you have a garage, you want, if someone's driving by, to have really good visibility, seeing all the way up to your front door, the sides of your house. You want it as well lit as possible. I recommend looking into photocell sensors if you don't already have those. They make light bulbs. It's that technology right now that they make light bulbs, adapters, light fixtures that are all using this technology. And all it does is it can sense when the sun goes down, it starts to get dark, your lights are going to automatically come on. And then in the morning when the sun comes up, it'll sense that it's light out and your lights will shut themselves off automatically. So you don't have to worry about it. So let the technology work for you. When it comes to the sides of the house, you want to have motion sensor lights there, and I would add motion sensor cameras to that as well. A lot of times you can get one device that offers both options, and the reason that I want you to have those there is because you should not have, there's not normal activity on the sides of the house. So, and in the backyard, that's another area you want to utilize that. And the reason, we want that, like I said, there shouldn't be activity there, so you want to be, one, getting a notification to your phone from that motion sensor camera that there's activity so that you can call us right away when you see something's off. Also, those motion sensor lights are going to bring attention to that area and let that burglar know that they've created a disturbance. We've actually had a couple instances, I've seen video footage of a couple attempted break-ins where someone's, climbing up to the second-story balcony, the motion sensor light shines in their face, they see the camera, and they turn around and they
left the property. So in that case, that was a really effective deterrent. So I would highly encourage you to invest in that option. In the backyard, like I said, utilize the motion sensor lights as well, and think about landscape lighting. Burglars like to operate in dark hiding places. As Sergeant Rodriguez was talking about, the sides of the house and the backyard are the areas that they're really hitting right now, so you want to have good visibility back there. That way, if there's anything going on, you could see clearly to the outside. So think about adding some landscape lighting to that area as well. When it comes to your landscaping, again, you want to eliminate dark hiding places. So in crime prevention, we have what's called the 2-foot, 6-foot rule. So any bushes or shrubs shouldn't be higher than 2 feet, and your tree cover shouldn't go lower than 6 feet. You want to have good visibility right there, so if someone's walking by, you can see clearly. So visibility is really important when it comes to home security. Also, when it comes to second-story break-ins, like Sergeant Rodriguez was talking about, there's some things you want to think about in terms of security for that. So, you know, you want to secure it like you would your first floor, so locking windows and doors, making sure those areas are secure, and then also making sure you're not leaving ladders outside. We do see them get pretty creative. Actually, I have a couple of pictures that I skipped, but this is some lighting recommendations. So this picture is actually from a break-in from a few years ago, but we do see things like this actually all the time. They get pretty creative with trying to access the second-story points in the house. So ladders are usually utilized if they're available. We do see them climb up on barbecues, stacking patio furniture like you saw in this picture. So think about, like, when you're doing your home security walkthrough in your backyard, how accessible is, you know, a second-story window, a second-story entry point. If you have a balcony in your backyard, think about how accessible that is. If there's, you know, trees that they could climb, if you have a lattice, if you have patio furniture, what could they utilize to get up there? And then you need to keep that in mind as you're making your security plans. And if it is pretty accessible, you need to make sure that area has, you know, an alarm, and you need to add some extra layers there. Okay, so interior. This is probably the biggest tip that I want everybody to leave here today with and to please do. You want to create the appearance from the interior of your house that someone is home. Like I said, you know, they're looking for empty houses. So if from the inside of your house it looks like you're home, they're going to skip your house and go to the next home. So that means when you are going on vacation, I highly recommend you get some interior lights on timers that from the front of the house and the back of the house, it looks like there's somebody home. So that means, you know, normal activity. So not, you know, lights on 24/7. That's not normal activity. You want your lights to go on, you know, around the normal time that the sun sets, maybe around 8 o'clock. And then maybe, you know, the downstairs lights go off around 10 or 11, an upstairs light comes on for a little bit. So kind of think about what normal patterns look like and set up your lighting in your house to reflect that on these timers. You can also, you know, put a timer on a talk radio station, have that go on and off throughout the day, so it sounds like someone's in the house. I also recommend if you're going out to dinner, you know, we talked about dinner time being a common hour for these burglaries to be happening, leave the TV on or leave the radio on. Make the house look and sound like there is someone home. I think that that's probably one of the biggest things, and that things is not that difficult to do that I think could be a huge deterrent for these residential burglaries. I also recommend motion sensors, as we're talking about the shattering of windows and doors to get into the house. The motion sensors on the inside of the house could be really effective in addressing that. The master bedroom is the most targeted area in the house, and so if you're going to put a motion sensor anywhere, I would recommend that being the first place to think about. You can get plug-in motion sensor cameras, such as the ones that I have showed you on the pictures here. Those are going to be really, really good because you can just plug them in when you're on vacation or you're out, and then you can unplug them and either put them away or put them in another part of the house when you're home and if you want some privacy. But because the master bedroom is the most targeted area in the house, if they are only, you know, shattering the sliding glass door to get into the master and then leaving, which we do see a lot. We actually see a lot of burglaries where they don't bother going to any other part of the house. They're only going to go to the master. And you get a notification that there's activity in the master bedroom, you can call us immediately and we can respond. So I do recommend motion sensors throughout the house, but if you're going to think about one place to put it, the master bedroom is what I'd recommend for that. When it comes to storing your valuables, you want to make sure they're not visible from outside the house or, being displayed on social media. And if you do choose to do that, just know you need to just understand the risks and, get some other security measures in place. So think about that. When it also comes to storing valuables, safes are a great tool. However, burglars know that safes are generally kept in your master bedroom. Probably most folks in here have a safe in their master bedroom. That's the first place that the burglar is going to look. So I encourage you to make sure it is somewhere on the first floor, not in your master closet, and it is bolted to concrete and then enclosed behind a cabinet so that if you have strangers in the house for any reason, it's not visible to them. But you do want it bolted because we see safes ripped out of drywall, wood paneling, that kind of thing. From time to time, they have the tools and things that they bring that they're able to do that. So you want to make sure your safe is not able to be ripped out of anything easily. And then when it comes to valuables, treasures, things that are heirloom items, things you'd be devastated to lose, I recommend doing a safety deposit box at the bank. If you're not using that item on a regular basis, that way it's not at your home, it's not in danger of being lost, especially if you're going on vacation and you're not going to be there to watch over that. Okay, so beyond physical measures you can take, good habits are really important as well. So anytime you leave the house, just be in the habit of making sure you check all the windows and doors are secured and then set your alarm. I hate when I read a residential burglary report, someone has an alarm system, but they went out to the store really quick, or they went to take the dog on the walk, something simple, and they didn't set their alarm because they've taken the time to invest in a security system, but they didn't utilize it. And so that always kills me when I read about that. So make sure you are using the tools that you've set in place. If you're getting notifications to your phone that there's activity, look at those notifications. Don't ignore them. When it comes to social media, we kind of already talked about being careful about what you are posting. Also think about, if you're going on vacation, probably a good time to just take a break from the social media. When you get home, go ahead and post. You don't want to advertise that you're away from home. And then keeping up on the maintenance of your security system is also important. I can't tell you how many times our officers, will go out to a burglary or some other crime, and they're going to look around and see, do any neighbors or businesses in the area have cameras, and they'll go approach them to see if they were able to get any footage of the crime. And I can't tell you how many times people say, oh no, our cameras don't work. And like I mentioned, cameras in some situations are a deterrent, not all the time. So if you are going to have cameras, make sure you're keeping up on the maintenance of it and you know how they work and they're simple for you to use. Don't get a security system that is too complicated beyond your capability of operating. I know Sergeant Rodriguez really focused on this, but I want to make sure everybody knows that no call is too small for our police department. We rely on our residents to be our eyes and ears when we can't be there. We'd love to have an officer set up on every corner watching you guys 24/7 to make sure you're safe, but that's just not a feasible option, and so we do rely on our residents to call us, and it is a huge part of us being able to make arrests and effectively address these crimes. So if you don't have this non-emergency number plugged into your phone, please do that. Please put it in your phone right now. Save it to your favorites. It's going to reach the same dispatchers that answer the 911 calls. So just know if you call in from the non-emergency, they'll ask you if it's an emergency. And if you tell them it's not, you might have to wait for a little bit because they are, like I said, answering those emergency calls as well. But does everybody have the number? Do you need another moment? Okay, perfect. We'll move along because I know that we want to save time for questions. Some other resources I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of. We do have a neighborhood watch program, and I think it's really important for as many people as possible to be involved in that program. And it's not necessarily like you're out there patrolling the community. A lot of people think, oh, neighborhood watch means, I'm patrolling my neighborhood or watching out. What it really is, it's about neighbors getting to know each other and building community. And it's also about, being connected to the police department. So I work with neighborhoods all throughout the city with a lot of really wonderful block captains and area coordinators who help me get the message out when there's crime trends going on and help me get the word out about crime prevention methods that our community can utilize. And also, it's really important for building community and having neighbors look out for each other. I know in this day and age, it's easy for people to go home. You know, you get home from work, you pull into the garage, shut the garage door, you turn on Netflix, and you just kind of like tune out, and you're not really engaged in what's going on in your neighborhood. A lot of times, talk to people, they don't know the names of their neighbors that live on either side of them. So it's really important to get to know your neighbors, to build that community, and to look out for one another. Because, those are the people that are going to be there if there's, if they hear glass break, they know something suspicious going on next door, they're going to be the ones who are able to call us. So you want to build trusted relationships with them and share your contact information. So that's a big part of Neighborhood Watch as well, neighbors looking out for each other. Nixel Alerts, I want to get an idea of who signed up for Nixel Alerts in here. Okay, a good amount, perfect. Okay, so Nixel is one of the best ways to get information from the police department. If there's a residential burglary in your area or a major crime trend going on, I will put an alert out via Nixel, so you'll get information directly from the police department about what is going on in your community. NBP.org, our website, has a lot of really good information and resources about crime prevention. You can get crime statistics information on there that's updated regularly. So, and that's a great resource as well. We also have calls for service on the website, and that's a fantastic resource for you to get an idea of what kind of activity is going on in your neighborhood. So check out our website. There's a lot of great stuff on there. We do offer vacation checks through the website as well. So if you're going on vacation, you can have one of our volunteers come out and make sure that you didn't leave anything unlocked or there's no broken glass, so we can help you make sure your home is secure that way. And then also, if you need additional help with securing your home, the police department does offer home security inspections where we can come out and walk the property with you and give you recommendations on what you can be doing to make sure your home is secure. So that's also available on the website as well. So hopefully that wasn't too fast for everyone. I wanted to make sure we got time for questions, but open it up right now.
Thank you both. That was a very interesting and informative presentation. We have questions that have been submitted already through our website, and we do have, I don't know that Ed mentioned, we do have several hundred people watching on Zoom tonight, so we do appreciate that audience as well. We have a microphone set up in the center here, so if you have some questions, we would request that you just go to the microphone and line up, and we can do that. I'll start with a question so that people can get organized to go over there. And the question that I have from somebody that sent it in online is, our house was broken into and no fingerprints were taken. We were told they would probably never find the offenders. The police left and we never heard back. What is the protocol for dealing with break-ins, and how is the follow-up managed?
On most cases where we have a residential burglary, we will always try to have our CSI folks, our crime scene investigators, come out and process the scene for any type of evidence that might help us to find the folks that come into the crime. So if that's taking prints or DNA swabs or whatever, blood evidence, whatever that is left behind, it is something that we do, absolutely do. There are times though, again, like we talked about, a majority of these crews that are coming in are wearing gloves, and so a lot of times we don't get the fingerprint hits, but we get other hits. We get DNA swabs. Like I said, we'll DNA some of the areas where we know they've touched and they've handled, and we'll send those up for processing, and given those swabs and some time, sometimes we'll get lucky and we'll come back with a hit. We've had a couple, two gentlemen are currently in custody in New York, came back with DNA hits. That's how we identify them. So absolutely, we do call out CSI, we do process the scene. However, depending on, again, what they see there, once they get there, they will make a determination or, try to and decide, oh, we can't get any prints, but maybe I can swab or I can get something else. So there's always an effort to try and collect the evidence that we can use to prosecute the case.
Thank you. Why don't we take a question, the first one?
Sure. Thank you for your work in the community, first
Thank
of
you.
all. I'm curious to know how many of these suspects that you've taken into custody are armed.
And out of the 234, I'd say 4 three or four.
With firearms or knives? Or?
Yeah, the handguns, but again, that's 234 arrests related to all crimes in the city, not just residential burglaries. Specifically, when it comes to residential burglaries and the suspects we've taken into custody, I've had no suspects in possession of weapons that we've taken into custody for residential burglaries. So the ones we did arrest, they were for thefts and car break-ins and that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
But those were after the fact arrests too. So at the time of the crime, they may have not had a weapon, but when we went out to find them, one group of folks was out of Costa Mesa / Huntington. When we contacted them in Costa Mesa, they had weapons on them at that point. But again, it's rare. The majority of the time, it's been uneventful, and we find property, stuff like that, but not weapons.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Go ahead, next question.
Thank you very much for help keeping us all safe.
Thank you.
What a percentage of the break-ins where there's been an actual loss at a residential house have had active alarm systems?
That's a good question. I don't have like a number percentage, but I would say the vast majority either do not have an alarm or do not have the alarm activated at the time of the break-in. So that's just based on the reports that I've read of the recent ones, but the majority of the time there's not an alarm system that's been activated.
Great, thank you.
Hi, thank you for your service. We really appreciate it. I have two questions.
Yes, sir.
Number one is, are any zip codes more impacted than others? Did your statistics tell you that some zip code is usually more in danger than other zip codes? That might be a good information. And the second thing is, some cities and some counties, they don't prosecute people. They let them out of jail with no bail. How is our DA handling that? Do you bring them in and then they get turned around the next day and you got them out? You said one guy was arrested here. A month later, he was in New York. Obviously, he didn't do any time here.
So, in regards to the zip codes question, there's not a specific area within the city that is hit more than the other. I think that it definitely does fluctuate, and you do get trends. You do get hotspots, which we identify and then we deal with. But overall, I've been in the city for 22 years, and it's always been a great city, a safe city. Like I said, we have our hotspots, but overall, everywhere is pretty equal. I mean, they see the opportunity. Obviously, they know Newport Coast area, they have bigger houses. I'm going to go for the bigger house, but they know that across the board, folks here are doing well, and so they'll take the opportunity wherever they see it. When it comes to our prosecution of our suspects and the DA's office, I think they're doing an excellent job of prosecuting the cases that we put together. Some of the stuff, for example, the gentleman that was caught in New York, sometimes you'll have a case where it's so significant and there's so much to it and there's so many folks involved that there's just other investigative stuff that needs to be done. There's other questions that need to be answered. There's a possibility, because what ends up happening is you say we put the guy in custody and the DA files that case today and they go, hey, Brandon, I think this crew might be good for 40 cases, but we don't put all that together yet. Then he goes and pleads and he's gone. And so sometimes they'll tell us, hey, I'd like you to do more follow-up. I'd like you to do this. And they can bail out. At the end of the day, they have the opportunity to bail out, and some of those folks can do that, and they do that. And that young man, right. But you know what? And I'm going to tell you again, I'm so proud again of the department, because those two guys that were in New York, I told our bosses, hey, these guys are in New York. They're good for 2 burglaries in Newport. They said, get extraditable warrants for them, and when they get released, we're going to go get them. And so I've got those in the system right now, and as soon as they get released, I got my crew ready. We'll go. Fly out to New York. We're going to bring them back. So, and that's because of the command staff, the chief, and the dedication that they have to the community. I tell you, there are a number of burglary teams that I get to talk to, and they were shocked. They were shocked by the fact they're going to let you go to New York to get 2 guys. I was like, we do it. And so it's awesome. It's a great effort.
Thank
Hi,
you.
sir. How you doing?
Thank you for being here. You've already answered a few of my questions. I only have 18 more questions, but
Awesome.
I'll limit it to 2.
Yes, sir.
So alarm systems. I read a lot in Stu News, sometimes Daily Pilot, about break-ins. How good are the alarm systems? How effective is that? And if I read the other day, walking my neighborhood, my neighbor has a sign that says XYZ Alarm Company, armed response. I don't know if that means they send out a armed guy, or the alarm goes to you, you send out somebody, or other alarm systems. Are you notified, or what's the effect of that?
I think
So-
Sarah can speak to this.
So yeah, alarm systems, I do recommend if you're going to get an alarm to get an audible alarm, because that is going to scare off the burglar. But in terms of effectiveness, we do see when alarms are set and they're activated and the burglar knows that they've activated the alarm, usually they take off right away. So they generally do have a positive effect. But can you repeat the last part of your question for me?
I think it was about armed response.
Armed response, yes. Okay, so most of the time, I'm not aware of an alarm company that will send their own response. They're going to contact the police department to respond. And you can actually get your alarm system to be connected directly to the police department. So a lot of alarm companies, they do have, the alarm's going to go off. It's going to send a notification to the third-party alarm company. They're going to check in with you to see if everything's okay. If not, they'll call the police department. So it kind of slows down the process. You can get your alarm connected directly to the police department, and there is information on the back of everyone's home security checklist about our alarm permits and getting your alarm connected to the police department directly. There's a phone number on there you can call.
So my second question has to do with that. I read a lot about burglars smashed a sliding glass door or smashed a picture window. And how does that happen? And nobody hears anything and they get inside and steal stuff.
That's a great question I ask myself every time I go to one of those. I don't know, there has been some significant windows broken, and I don't have a clue how nobody hears it, but some of these properties are backed up to golf courses or open space again, and they know that, and they're large properties, and so I'll tell you though, they do get creative. They'll take your chair cushions and they'll pile them under the window right before they break it. And we've come to find that there have been several, where the chair cushions are pushed up against that door, they break it, the glass falls on that chair cushion, and it muffles some of the sounds. So they're working as hard as we are to catch them. Yeah. So they're working as hard to not get caught. So that's some of the stuff that they do, and I just think that they're good at what they do, and we just got to be better.
Thanks a lot.
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, I live in Irvine Terrace, and we are having a lot of problems. Our HOA has asked our community to allow them, we have to have a vote on it, to hire a security company that will patrol the area. And it's a significant amount of money per month, and a lot of people feel that the time sequence of having them report to you, or call you or call the police, is not worth the money.
Right.
What is your opinion on whether this is a good idea to do or utilize?
I'm not sure that everybody heard that question,
Yeah,
so maybe repeat it just a little briefly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a tough one. So which community, ma'am?
Irvine Terrace.
Irvine Terrace. So, having a security team in your community, obviously I think that is a community decision it's up to you guys. I mean, it's your community, it's your safety. You got to feel safe in your area. So that's a hard decision. But with that being said, I do, like I told you earlier, I do promise you that we do see these trends, and we do see the hot spots, and we do focus on them. And so whether you see us or not, high visibility patrol,
I have seen you a couple of times lately.
Or our undercover patrols, we're in there, especially when a community like yours is getting hit like it is, especially when that's my area. I take it to heart. And so we spend a lot of time in that community, and we make a big effort to contact and identify everybody that's going in the community. We have other resources that the police department has put in place to help identify some of these folks. So that's a tough decision. I couldn't guide you one way or the other. I think it's a community thing. I think at the end of the day, if you guys makes you feel safer, I absolutely think that that's something you would want to do, right? But I promise you this, that we are we are there, and we're making a big effort. Our patrol guys, I give a ton of information to the patrol division before they go out on patrol. So I will talk to my bosses. I will talk to my sergeants. I will talk to the cops, and I will say, hey, Irvine Terrace, one of my old team members that used to work on my bike team, he goes, Sarge, I sit from 9 o'clock to like midnight at Irvine Terrace on the highway, and I watch every car that goes in, and I stop any car that I think is suspicious, and I'm like, perfect, that's what I need. And so we make a big effort to make sure you're safe, but if you need the security to make you safer or to make you feel better, I think you need to make the decision that's right for you guys.
Well, we did have a similar question online
Okay.
asking basically, are there any statistics about whether that type of additional security warrants the expense for a community? And maybe you do or don't have those statistics.
We don't track that data in our city, so we don't have those numbers.
Okay.
Thank you, Speak Up Newport, for your forums every time, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I'm too short for this. Do you
I can
have
hear
statistics?
You can tilt it if you'd like.
I have to pick it up. I tried to.
There you go.
Do you have
awesome.
statistics on the difference between gate-guarded communities and the rest of the communities in Newport Beach in terms of burglary?
Currently, I don't have a stat sheet that would tell where they occur more. However, just based on what I read and what I see, I think that it's equal opportunity, given that, again, the crews that are hitting us now, again, they're working off of the open spaces. So the gate guards, they do a great job of limiting access from the gate, but they're not parking, they're not going through the gate. They're parking on the coast highway, entering the golf course, and then walking all the way across. They're looking at maps, and they're figuring out where they can make entry from a hillside or a side. So the gated communities are awesome, but some of our highest end communities have still been hit with burglars because you can't at the end of the day encircle the whole property. And these folks, they're determined. But the problem is we're just as determined. And so again, we make a big effort. We have a lot of things in place to combat what we're dealing with, and we'll continue to do that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
We did have one question online that I'll just intercede with, asking about the amount of camera footage that seems to be available and whether there's any way to institute a program where we would share that and maybe have a reward system and have more people involved in identifying this kind of activity.
This is a great opportunity. So I
wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, so this actually is a great opportunity to tell you guys, your Ring doorbells, your Ring cameras, all your Ring products, they have an online portal for law enforcement. And we, the Newport Beach Police Department, the command staff has now got us involved in that program, which is so cool because I was just talking earlier and saying that you guys, what you post, hey, I saw this guy on my Ring doorbell, he tried to pick up a package, got scared away, but you post that online, we now get that. So I can go to my area, everything east of Dover, basically. I can go to my whole area, look around, and I see these little posts and these little dots on this map, and I can hit it, and it'll show me what you folks have posted from your Ring video to your Ring app, and it'll give me, good information, good telling. It was the first day I was able to see a guy that stole a package from one house off of, I think it was Bungalow or something like that, and then just up the road, he was stealing another package. But the two videos from the different community members are what linked that together. So that Ring video, it's a great opportunity. If you guys post stuff, we get it. We can also request and say, hey, we had an incident. We'd like any video you have. And it saves us from having to go door to door and knock on your guys' doors to try and get that stuff. The other thing about that, though, is if you have video, if you think you got something good, don't be afraid to share it. Call a non-emergency number. Again, you probably have my information. If not, I can get it to you. But don't be afraid to send me an email. Hey, this is what I saw. We'll run with it. We'll check it out. It may be something. It may be nothing. But we're happy to check it out. We always do. And we've gotten video footage from the community where they're like, we don't know if it's anything, but here, this is what we have. And I, with my guys, try and run down all those leads just to see, is it related to something? Is it something we can put together as a case? But the video footage is huge, and the ring system is awesome.
That's,
that's
good to know.
That's called the Neighbors app, and it's through Ring, but you don't have to have Ring camera or Ring equipment to upload videos to that or to see what's going on. So anybody can sign up for the Neighbors app and get us video footage that way. But it is something that we have recently started using, and our detectives have already been posting, asking for, residents to send stuff in. So definitely get connected with us on Neighbors.
So we're almost out of time, but we have 2 more questions. Maybe we can have quick question answers for the
Sure,
last 2 so
absolutely,
we
you got
can
it.
finish up.
Hi, thanks for your service. Irvine Terrace community resident as well. I think 7 or 8 hits in the last 6 weeks. We are making some decisions as a neighborhood on what to do, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of Zoom participation from the neighborhood right now. I've lived there 22 years. This is the first time we've ever had anything like this. It does seem to me, but I would like your opinion, that your statistics point out that this is kind of rare that we would get this kind of activity, and it doesn't really hit and sustain itself. Is there any trend or anything that would lead you to believe that we should be concerned about a sustained systemic issue in the area?
No, I mean, just my gut would tell me no. I don't ever see. We have hot spots, like I said earlier. They come and they go. What I'm thinking, obviously, Irvine Terrace, I'm thinking we got to find the bad guy. There's a guy that, for whatever reason, or a crew that's picked that area and has said, hey, this is going to be where I come back to. I like it. We're working our leads. We're working everything that we have on the information from the prior cases. And I'll tell you, we just got to find the right bad guy to put him in jail. And I think that'll alleviate that trend. We had a significant trend going at the Fashion Island of bikes getting stolen, e-bikes specifically. Funny enough, serving a search warrant up off of Bristol, this guy comes riding through our search warrant. My detective recognizes him as a suspect from the video of Fashion Island, hooks him, cops out to all the crimes, haven't had maybe but one since. So that, from my experience as a burg detective, is what I generally see is we just need to find the right guys or crew that has picked that spot and put them in jail, and it'll stop.
Great.
So we're working on it.
Great, thank you. And real quick question, all the burglary stuff you put up there, you never mentioned dogs. How effective are big dogs that bark a lot in sustaining?
Oh, I get that question all the time. So, like I said, different things deter different burglars. So I do think there are, and we don't always have data on burglaries that were prevented or didn't occur, right? So, so I do think the dogs could potentially be a deterrent for some burglars. We had a residential burglary a couple days ago where the perpetrator or the suspect tried to get into the house, opened the door, set off the alarm, and the dog started barking. And I think it's probably the dog that scared this guy away. So I do think that they could have an effect. I definitely wouldn't build your entire security system or security plan around the dog. But it is, like I said, one layer that could be effective.
And our last question, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick question.
Yes,
I live in a gated community, and
Yes, sir.
we're always shocked that we're going to, something happens, because we do. To what extent in the data that you see, would you consider any of these perpetrators to be, lack of a better word, insiders, inside job, connected to the victim, vendors, things like that?
From what I see and what I've read in my experience and all the folks that we've arrested, it's very rare. It's very rare that it's an inside job. It's generally a crew coming in, hitting, and what they do is they get the opportunity, they hit the first house, right, and maybe they score. We had a house which worked out for the best, but we had a house that was hit for $1 million loss. And the good thing about that is the patrol got there, they hooked everybody that ran, and we recovered all of it. But the message is, hey, off of this street, we got $1 million, that's where you want to go. And so I think that's what brings the crews in. We do, once in a blue moon, today's arrest was an employee-related event. So once in a blue moon, we do have it, but I would say majority of the time it's unknown offenders that come in the town to
Just
commit
one,
the crimes.
just quick follow-up. You keep using the word crew, crew, crew. So the days of kind of watching Law and Order, and there's the one perp and the good guy and the one bad guy, are those days gone? Everything?
No, not necessarily. That's a funny question. My focus today was the crews, because I feel like right now the crews are what we're focused, the South American theft group.
Okay.
But no, I mean, we do have the one-offs, the one guy that comes, or the one girl that comes and pillages a neighborhood, and we've had some great success with those as well. So no, it's you definitely have your individuals, but right now the South American theft groups are the crew is the big guy that we're dealing with.
Thank you so much. It looks like one more gentleman has a question. We'll do it quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
But I won't be quick. I'm going to talk to you about a little something that you aren't addressing, and the people out here don't know. How many people have been burglarized? We were burglarized 3 weeks ago on a Thursday night. Happened at 8:45. We came down to Newport Beach. We built a new home. We have every bell and whistle there is. We have lights. We have beside the dog. We have on the side. We have it monitored. We have motion detectors. We have everything. The only we don't have, and I'm not for it, is a gun. The real cost involved here, nobody's brought up. I hear, are we going to get our money's worth? Let me tell you, if you're thinking money, your head is on wrong. Because let me tell you, here's what really happens. There is a situation where somebody has gone and violated your privacy, your well-being, and I'm particularly want to address the women in this room. Because men, we kind of take it as, well, if someone broke in, I mean, I can handle it, or it's not going to happen to me, or if they break in, we don't really have anything. I heard all that because I'm trying to promote the Irvine Terrace thing. Women, let me tell you what happens. At least it happens to my wife. My wife and I are both 75 years old. We've lived here 22 years. Hope to live the rest of our lives here. But when we came here, I come from Covina and West Covina, came down here because of one was the security and the safety that I felt. We had some riots in Los Angeles, and some of the riots broke out and went up into some of the more affluent areas, and I was concerned about that. So we
we have a limited amount of time on our video, and I appreciate maybe we could have a question, and then I know both officers are going to remain here and can talk more in depth, but I do want you to have a chance to ask your question. So yeah, you can ask your question.
I don't have a question. I have to tell the women just one last thing. In your mind, you have a little spot up there, particularly the women, that stores things that you remember and relives things that you have to go through. My wife is a physical wreck. What has happened to us and what's going to happen to every one of you to different degrees is you're going to relive the breaking into your house for a second, for 5 seconds, for a minute, for the rest of your life. And what you're doing is you're taking the amount of time that you have left on this earth and you're devoting it to somebody else's thing that they did to you. I don't know what the answers are, but anybody that looks at it, we've got to do something. And the smashing, just think about, I'll just leave you last thing. All the nice women here, do you still walk around with your nice handbags? Do you have your nice jewelry on? Do you do any of those things? We don't. And Newport Beach, it's a sad story. It's a sad story.
Such an important comment. Thank you so much. And that really is a sentiment that we do share, that we're concerned, obviously why we had the program this evening. We're very grateful to everybody, all of the people who asked questions and the comments. It really does. The sharing is so important so that we all do have that kind of information. Our 2 officers have been absolutely wonderful. They will remain here and take on more questions, or if you just want to have a conversation. My name is Robin Grant. I'm on the board of directors for Speak Up Newport. We are so grateful to have the participation of the community. We work hard to bring you guys programs that are meaningful, and just hearing the passion and the concern from the community tonight is exactly what we're looking for. So thank you so much. We're here for you as well, so thank you. Ed Selich will just finish up.
Okay, excuse me, folks, we're not done yet. So, I want to thank our police officers for joining us this evening. Sarah and Brandon, thank you for your time.
Oh, good for you.
Again, I want to thank the bungalow for the food. We're going to be dark in August, but September the 14th back here, we're going to have our candidates forum for the city council candidates. So you want to be here for that. And then one last thing. Those of you that have trash, please put it in the trash cans so our city staff doesn't have to do a lot of work to clean the room up. And with that, we'll see you September the 14th. Good evening.